All right, let's talk about project cost management. And look, I know what you might be thinking. Spreadsheets, budgets, maybe a little dry, but trust me, this is so much more than that. This is really about strategic financial planning. The kind of smart decision-making that can make or break a project. So yeah, let's dive right in.
So here's what we've got on tap. We're going to start really broad, looking at the real and often hidden costs of big projects. Then we're going to zoom way in to the one golden rule of accounting that literally everything is built on. After that, we'll get practical, we'll look at the tools of the trade and how to pick the right software. And finally, we'll zoom back out to see how all these pieces fit into the big strategic picture.
Okay, first up, the real cost of projects. And the key thing to get here is that it's always more than just the price tag. Every major decision you make on a project, well, it has these ripple effects that go way, way beyond the initial sticker price.
And at the heart of so many of these big projects is this one fundamental question. Do we do this in-house or do we contract it out? I mean, it's a choice that pretty much every organization has to make at some point, and the stakes get really high, especially when we're talking about the public sector. And believe me, this isn't just some academic thought experiment. This is real. In fact, just recently, the U.S. Office of Management and Budget made it a rule. They now mandate this kind of deep cost-benefit analysis for any state or local government project that's using federal grant money. So understanding the true cost, it's not just a good idea anymore, it's absolutely essential. But to do that kind of analysis, you gotta have a system, right? Which leads to the real question, how do you even track all these costs accurately to begin with?
And that question leads us perfectly into our second section, accounting's golden rule. Because here's the thing, before you can even think about managing costs, you first have to know how to properly account for them. It all starts here.
So this whole system, it's built on one big idea, double entry bookkeeping. Now, the easiest way to think about it is like one of those old school balance scales. It has to stay perfectly balanced, always. If you put a weight on one side, you have to put an equal weight on the other. It's the same in accounting. Every single dollar has to be accounted for twice. It has to come from somewhere and it has to go to somewhere. That's the magic trick. It ensures nothing just disappears.
And all of that boils down to this one single fundamental equation. Assets equals liabilities plus equity. Let's break that down. Basically, all the stuff a company owns, that's its assets, has to equal all the stuff it owes to other people, those are its liabilities, plus what the owners themselves have a claim to, which is the equity. And every single transaction, no matter how tiny, has to keep this equation in perfect balance. It's like the law of gravity for accounting. It's unbreakable.
Okay, so we've got this core principle of balance, this unbreakable rule. But, knowing the theory is one thing. Actually putting it into practice, that's a whole different ballgame. And that brings us right to our next section, the actual tools of the trade we use to make this all happen, from the old school methods to modern software. For hundreds of years, really, the cornerstone of all accounting was something called the general ledger. The best way to picture it is as the company's official financial diary. It was the one single source of truth where every single transaction, I mean everything, from buying a pack of pens to building a new headquarters, was recorded. And for a long, long time, project accounting was pretty much just a matter of wrangling this ledger, usually with the help of a whole bunch of spreadsheets.
But as you can probably guess, that manual approach, it has some major drawbacks. When you're using spreadsheets and a general ledger separately, what you're really doing is creating these isolated islands of data silos. And that means you're constantly trying to manually match things up, there's a huge risk of errors when one file gets updated and the other doesn't, and you're stuck with really basic functionality. Now compare that to dedicated software. It automates all of that painful reconciliation, it creates one single unified source of truth, so you know the data is always consistent. And you get all this advanced functionality, like budgeting and reporting, built right in. It's a game changer.
Okay, so if dedicated software is clearly the way to go, the obvious next question is, which one should you pick? And the good news here is that the market is absolutely flooded with amazing, specialized tools that are designed for pretty much any industry or need you can think of.
For instance, if you're in construction, you've got something like Procore, which is built from the ground up to handle the insane complexity of those kinds of projects. Or, say you run a creative agency where profitability is king. A tool like Productive is tailored specifically to help you track your margins on every project. Then you have the big guns, like Anaplan, which is perfect for huge organizations that need to connect all their financial planning, budgeting, and forecasting across the whole enterprise. The point is, there's something for everyone.
So how do you actually choose? Well, here's a really useful framework to follow. It's not just about the flashy features, it's all about the right fit. First, budget. Obviously. Does it fit your wallet? Second, and this one is huge, integration. Does it play nice with the systems you already use? Because a new tool that doesn't talk to your old tools just creates more headaches. Third, scalability. You have to ask, can this thing grow with us? You don't want to have to do this all over again in 2 years. Fourth, is it user-friendly? Seriously, don't overlook this. If it's a pain to use, your team just won't. And finally, reporting. This is where the magic happens. Can it give you the exact reports and insights you need to actually make better, smarter decisions?
And speaking of budget, let's just quickly look at what you can generally expect to pay. You've got your free plans, which are awesome for just getting started with the basics, like time tracking. Then you move up to a small business tier, usually under $10 a user, and that's where you start getting key project management tools like Gantt charts. The professional level, which is a bit more, is where you get the really powerful reporting and integrations. And then you have enterprise plans, which are custom priced and are all about advanced security and supporting a massive number of users.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, right? We went from that big, high-level problem all the way down into the nitty-gritty of accounting rules and software tools. Now, it's time to zoom back out and bring this all home. Because picking the right software, that's just one piece of the puzzle. The real goal here is to be able to see the entire picture.
And this brings us back to a really powerful idea we touched on at the beginning, the concept of full cost. Now, this is the official definition from the Federal Accounting Standards Advisory Board, and the word you really need to focus on is all. We're not just talking about direct expenses, the obvious stuff. We're talking about the sum of all resources that were used up, the direct costs, the indirect costs, even the cost of support you got from other teams. It means we have to train ourselves to look beyond that initial price tag and see everything that's lurking just beneath the surface.
So let's go back to that original question, in-house or contract out? A true full cost analysis means you have to consider all these hidden factors. You have to ask the hard questions, like what happens to our own team's skills and expertise if we outsource this for 10 years? What's the risk of getting locked into a contract that we can't get out of? And what are the bigger societal impacts on things like wages, benefits, or even the diversity of the workforce? All of that is part of the real full cost.
And that's where we're going to leave it with a question for you to take with you. The next time you're facing a really big project decision, I want you to challenge yourself and challenge your team to look right past that initial price tag and instead ask, what is the true full cost of this decision? Thanks for watching.